I'm Michael Tripp and I'm Chairman of the General Insurance Board. The GI Board's had a really active year. The whole of the GI community is a thriving community. And in particular I'd point to setting some strategic objectives, to the work we've done on thought leadership and research, international development and in particular the big data, data science and so on, a contribution to cross-practice working. We've also continued to evolve the membership of the General Insurance Board, so we're always fresh and always able to look to the future. In terms of strategy, at last Giro, we took soundings from people about the objectives for the GI Board. What do people want for the GI community going forwards? And we set some objectives which we've used as touchstones for our action planning and deciding what we're going to do into the future. In particular, one of the challenges was around engagement. How do we actually manage to form a community as the membership in the general insurance world grows and grows and grows? Part of that is the international development, and I think I'd point to the international development as a success area. We've had active engagement with people in America, the Casualty Actuarial Society, Canada and so on. We've also had active engagement in Asia, China through Malaysia, Singapore, and of course down to Australia and coming nearer, or maybe not quite so near a field, but to the middle, to South Africa and so on. And in particular, the engagement with the Asian part of the profession has been very, very strong. Another success, I think, has been in our contribution to thought leadership and research. In particular, we've had two really good sessional papers. They got Brian Hay prizes last year. One on exercising better judgment and one about the role of the actuarial function under Solvency II. But on top of that, we also had a paper later in this year, a discussion about PPOs, periodic payment orders. And that in particular is pointing to a real challenge for us, which is how, with such long-term liabilities, do we develop the right asset strategies? That's an area for further thought development. Maybe one of the most interesting bits of research and thought leadership, though, has been a cross-practice initiative where, driven by the General Insurance Board, we initiated something to look at what we've called modelling, analytics and information from data. We were keen to avoid buzzwords like big data or data science, but the whole thing to do with how computers deal with lots and lots of data, how you can bring databases together and do modern analytics is a real challenge for the actuarial profession and an opportunity. So the working party there, cross-practice, was another initiative from ourselves. Maybe the other major achievement, although it had its moments, was actually our role as general insurance actuaries in the implementation of Solvency II. Members will know that we've introduced practicing certificates for chief actuaries, the role that the PRA in particular were keen to actually have identified under the senior insurance management regime. We've learnt lessons from the way those practicing certificates were introduced, but nevertheless it's been a successful implementation. And of course, one of the great successes for the general insurance world is our conference, Giro. It is probably the world's leading general insurance conference for actuaries. Over 800 people attended this year, and it was a thriving networking event, lots of new information, continued professional development, and ideas for research, the thought leadership and the Knowledge Cafe promoting what we're going to be doing into the future. Of course, with all this activity, there are inevitably challenges, and we need to keep, if you like, forcing ourselves to think about the future and how to take the actuarial world in general insurance forward. Perhaps the biggest challenge is we are a victim of our own success. We've now got getting on for 3,000 people who have general insurance as their speciality. And of course that inevitably means keeping in touch with them becomes more difficult. For me, there are two audiences that we need to think about. The senior members of our profession and whether we're really plugged into their thinking and what's hot in their minds, but also perhaps more importantly for the future, what I might call the younger members of the profession, the people that perhaps haven't got the network that somebody like myself would have from many years ago. How do we help them feel part of a community, want to contribute to the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries? And there's all sorts of things around new social media and other ways that we maybe need to think about differently so we get that real engagement into the future. Another challenge for us is the way we manage research. Traditionally, general insurance has been really research-led, and there's a lot of activity that goes on from the ground up. People have ideas about what they want to research. Inevitably, resources get spread thinly, and chairing a working party is not a trivial activity. What we need to do is to make sure that the working parties really do produce information and research that is useful, and that the working party chairman makes sure that people know what is going on, and that we're much more strategic in our approach to research. We need to build on the energy and the enthusiasm and the creativity so that we deliver something for the future of the profession. Another area of challenge maybe is the cross-practice working. The Institute and faculty now has getting on for 30,000 members. It's a big organisation. It's global. There are people all over the world, and it has many practice areas. It's a real challenge to make sure that we in the general insurance world are aware of everything that's going on, that we can work together. There are some obvious areas like the Resource and Environment Board or the Risk Board where we do work together. We've recently appointed a member of our board to be a joint member of the Risk and the General Insurance Boards. We need to do more of that, but it takes time and effort and energy to keep in touch with people and be aware of what's going on, as well as filtering up and down from the management board and with council. So there's more I think we need to do in terms of contributing to and receiving from the profession as a whole. Another area of challenge is diversity. And I'm thinking here of diversity in many ways. Diversity by gender, diversity by ethnicity, diversity by management versus consulting, diversity by type of company and underwriting line. What we've tried to do with the General Insurance Board is to make sure that as we appoint new people, we're bearing that diversity requirement in mind. I think we've got quite a good board at the moment, but it'd be lovely to see maybe one or two more ladies and maybe one or two more from outside the UK. So the general insurance world, there's lots of activity going on, lots of things we can be pleased about, although as mentioned we have our challenges. It seems to me that one of the things that the profession as a whole needs to do is respond to consultations and actually promote itself. I think the general insurance world can make a contribution to the reputation of actuaries in a wider sense, and we're delighted to work with the PR people from the profession in doing what we can to help get our name better known and our reputation better founded.